So this is Synoptic assessment for the level 3, and the exam, we are in February 2022, and obviously like this month, we don't have any exam for the February. I think the next exam we have in March. So if you can complete, if you already completed all the papers, you can do your Synoptic. Next month, even though if your indirect tax is left, you can still do the Synoptic exam. But if you have any other paper left except the indirect tax, you cannot do the exam unless you pass that paper. So you need to remember that you need to make sure you pass all the paper before you actually do the Synoptic exam. So let's have a look the Synoptic, the question format, what we're going to see in the exam, how many marks from where, and what is the new format. The new format is nothing new except only the Excel is not part of the Synoptic anymore. So on the exam day, you're not going to see the spreadsheet. So you don't have to download anything on your computer from the spreadsheet, and you don't have to do work on the spreadsheet. So the way you do the exam, exactly the way we do all the other exam. So it will be very straightforward. You have to write the answer on the box, and you don't have to upload anything. So it's quite straightforward compared to the previous spreadsheet exam we have. Let's have a look, the assessment method. So the assessment method, we can see we have, it is computer-based, that you already know. All the exam we have the computer-based anyway. Then partially computer, partially human. So obviously once you've done the exam, some like, for example, some question will be marked by the human. That means especially the writing task. So any writing task that will be marked by the human, and any question that comes with a number, for example, for the calculation, for anything, calculating the profit or making the flex budget or calculating the limiting factor or contribution, this sort of question will be marked by the computer. So you need to be careful with the number. On the other hand, anything you write, and obviously like the writing bit will be marked by the human. Even if you apply, if you've done the last exam with the old module, yes, you can do the new one. Even if you don't have any choice, you cannot do the old syllabus anymore. Even if you've done exam, the last exam was with the old format, you can do the new format from now. The exam duration will be 2.5 hours. So the exam is 2.5 hours, and you have to answer 6 questions in the exam. Quite straightforward, to be honest. And there's a lot of students, they finish the exam even less than 2 hours. They said like the exam is quite straightforward. They finish 1.5 hours, maximum 2 hours. That means you will not running out of time for this exam. It's a very good news, because 6 questions, 2.5 hours, really good. Let's have a look what question you're going to see in the exam and how many marks you're expecting from which area. So we can have a look. The first question always is come from the ethics. So we need to make sure our ethics question we are comfortable with, because ethics is kind of the part of the Synoptic. So if we have a good score in the ethics, and the other side will be easier for us. It's not like before. You have to pass the ethics separately and the Synoptic separately. Now it is like the combination of all the areas. So if you can get a good score on the ethics, it will have a good impact on the overall grade. So make sure you revise your ethics very well. And I have one advice for all of you. When you do the ethics question, don't rush, because sometimes the question can be tricky. So it's look like very easy, but actually it is not. For example, if the question asks you, the accountant have a responsibility not to share the client information in any case, or the accountant or the accountant never allowed to share the confidential information to anyone. So it look like it is true, because the accountant should not allow to disclose the client information. But actually the answer is not true, is false, because in some case the accountant are allowed to disclose the information without even the client consent. So for example, if something against the public interest, if something it is a public threat, For example, if someone involved with the money laundering, or for example, the HMRC ask you for information, or maybe the court asks you some information. In this case, even though the client don't give you the permission, still you have a responsibility to disclose this information. So when you read first time this question, the accountant never allowed to disclose the client information without consent, and it's look like it's true, but actually it is not true. So when you do the ethics question, little bit slow, read the question twice so that you can get the right answer. Okay, let's have a look. What is the first area we're going to see? That's from the ethics. It says a demonstrate an understanding of the relevance of ethical code of the accounts, the need to act ethically in a given situation, and the appropriate action to take in a reporting question behavior. Now this question will be mixed, and you can see 19% marks come from here. So some question at the beginning, it will ask you true or false, or they ask you to match the scenario, or choose the right answer from the pick list. These are really quick. You don't have to write anything. The next one will give you a little scenario. They will tell you like one person working, or you are working as a accountant trainee, and your boss maybe ask you to claim all the VAT. And you know from your studies, you are not allowed to claim all the VATs. You are only allowed to claim the VAT on the business expense. So what should you do? And they will ask you, like, for example, what will be your action, or what you will do right now. So you resign, you refuse to act, and what action you'll take. So you have to give the answer based on the scenario. So this is the scenario-based question and the appropriate action. So we know the action is very simple. First, we try to say, will refuse, will not do that. So will not follow, if anything, that doesn't comply with the ethical code. So will refuse to act, number one. Number two is, if there is no option, we have to resign. So remember that we try to reduce the risk to an acceptable level. So try to reduce the risks to an acceptable level. But if we cannot reduce the risk to an acceptable level, we must resign. So resign is the last option. Do not choose the resignation at the first option, because this is your last option. Number two, sometimes a question comes for the money laundering. So remember, if you are a sole trader, so if you work yourself, so you work for yourself, you don't have a money laundering officer. In this case, if the money laundering situation arises, you have to tell the NCA, National Crime Agency. So when you work for yourself, or if you are a sole trader, you have to inform NCA. But if you work as an accountant in an organization where you have a nominated officer or money laundering reporting officer, you have to tell him first. So don't tell the NCA. So it's a very important. If you work for yourself because you don't have any MLRO, so you tell the NCA about the money laundering case. Or if you work as an accountant in a company somewhere, you need to choose MLRO. The next question is come from the estimation and the errors. Now, this one mostly mix it up question from your final account preparation and advanced bookkeeping. Now, if you remember from your final account preparation, chapter number 2, that is incomplete records. So this question is like 90% times the question come from chapter number 2 from final account preparation. And this is very important for question number 2 in the Synoptic. So make sure you are very happy with the incomplete records, especially for the sales ledger control, purchase ledger control, and how to do the markup and margin. So make sure you practice that. This question always tested in question number 2 for the Synoptic. Question number 3 is the question we see for the management accounting costing. And this question can be mixed it up with CVP analysis. If you remember your break even, if you remember your target profit, this question, calculate the contribution. This is very common here. Number 2 is a question for the flex budget and the variance analysis. Very common here. And also the question from the limiting factor, how to calculate the contribution based on the limiting factor. So this 3 area is very important for question number 3. If you are good at this 3 area, that means you can have a good score in the question number 3. Question number 4 will be kind of the theoretical question, mix it up with some calculation. So apply ethical and accounting principle when preparing the final account for different type of organization, develop ethical course of action, and communicate relevant information effectively. So we'll see one question, how it is look like, and we're expecting 15% marks in the exam for that. Finally, the last question is the question number 5. Analyze, interpret, and report management accounting data. Again, this question normally comes from your management accounting, but we'll see a few questions like what type of question come in the exam for this question number 5. Now, when they said interpret or analyze, they want you to explain, and based on the situation, sometimes you have to do that. Now, for example, if the question give you, for example, few calculation, and you have to do that first, then you give the comment on that. So this question could be mixed up with the calculation and the writing. And the last question, the question number 6, is very common. Either this question will come from the extended trial balance or the final account for a sole trader and partnership. Now, extended trial balance, the chances for the extended trial balance is outside 95%. 95% case, you're expecting the extended trial balance in the exam. And final account preparation for the sole trader and partnership also can mix it up. For example, the extended trial balance comes for 11 marks, and for the 5 marks, they can ask you from the partnership or from the sole trader, or they can ask you for the adjustment. For example, they'll give you 3 adjustments, and they'll tell you to find the suspense account, remove the suspense account, and find the closing balance. Now, extended trial balance, it is possible they can only ask you P&L account, profit and loss account with the adjustment. They can ask you only SOFP, statement of financial position, and also they can ask you both. They can ask you P&L and the SOFP. So they will give you the ledger balances. You have to make the adjustment, and you need to move the balances either in the profit and loss or either in the SOFP. After that, you have to find this company making a profit or loss. So of course, like, you need to do enough practice on this area, especially from the ETB, extended trial balance, and the adjustment. So this is more or less the question area we're going to see in the exam. Now, what we'll do, we will open one exam type of question from this practice, and we start practicing from the beginning, from the ethics till question number 6, and we'll see what sort of question come and how can we do the workings, how can we solve it. Also, like there are 2 questions in the AAT website. So if you log into your My AAT portal, there is 2 practice questions for the AAT website. And if you're planning to do for exam for the Synoptic, make sure you practice these 2 as well. I do have a separate recording for that. If you need it, you can email me. I'll send you the link for that. You can watch that. And of course, like, this question will be more or less same in the exam and also for the practice assessment. So let's have a look to one of the practice assessment from our question bank. Okay, so we'll start with practice assessment 1. And this sort of information will be always in the exam. So you need to read it very quickly. Don't spend too much time here because this is not very linked with your answer anyway. Okay, let's read this one quickly. I said, task 1 is based on workplace scenario separate to the rest of the assessment. So that means question number 2 to 6 could be linked, but question number 1 is completely separate. It's not linked to question number 2 and 6. It says you are, Paula, a part qualified accounting technician employed by Redcliffe and Rothfuls, an accountancy firm. So R&R accountancy firm, and you are a part qualified, you're working there. Remember, if you're working there, if the question comes for the money laundering, you have to inform MLRO, not NCA. Friends Chippo and Shirley have recently begun to trade through a new partnership. Coldland which owns and lets several areas of land, including 2 houses. Okay, so that means you're going to see maybe some land, including 2 houses. That's absolutely fine. So let's move on to the first question that is not linked with the other question. So first question, 15 marks, is completely separate and not relevant to question number 2 to 6. So let's have a look at the first one. So show whether the following statement are true or false. Now, if you can get this question very quick, it will save a lot of time. If you know the answer, sometimes question number 1 is student finish in less than 10 minutes. Let's read this one. The first one, it says, it doesn't matter whether or not people might think my actions are unethical. It is whether or not I actually am that count. So they are saying, the question is saying, it doesn't matter what people think, like I'm ethical or not, but it is matter. It is the main importance is like how I feel, like, am I ethical or not? Now, even outside people feel like I'm not ethical, it doesn't matter. Is it true or false? What do you think? So now this sort of question will be really confusing. Remember that you have to take very carefully to find the answer for that. Now, when they said it doesn't matter like what people think, remember it cannot be ethical. So for example, let's say if I am the accountant or if I'm the auditor, if I'm going to audit my dad's company or my mom's company, remember that even I feel like I'm an honest person, I'll not be biased. And even though I am 100% honest from inside, but it doesn't look like honest. It doesn't look like I'll be 100% fair. So for that reason, it's not only you are honest, you are not biased, but it has to be look like you are honest. So it's not you are ethical, it has to be look like ethical. So doesn't matter how you feel inside. So we cannot just say like, you can go for it because you are feeling you are ethical person. It has to be look like the things going right way. So it's ethical. So it's false. It is matter. If the people feel you are not ethical person, it matters. All right, the next one we have here, as long as I comply with the principle of integrity, compliance with the other principle will be implied as a result. So they're saying if you comply with the integrity, and other principle will be implied automatically as a result. So we have few things we know. Integrity is a part of the objectivity. So if you just feel integrity, if you feel that, if you just apply that like you're honest, other thing will be implied automatically. It's not true, isn't it? We have a 5 fundamental principle that you have to follow. So we have a Dr. Pico, isn't it? So you have to remember that we have a integrity, and we have the objectivity, we have a confidentiality, we have a competence and due care, and we have a professional behavior. So all these 5 is same importance. I just cannot follow the integrity so that I don't follow the other 4. So it's not like other 4 will be automatically implied if I'm very honest person. So it's not true. Said it is also false. The next one we have here, the ethical code applies to my role as a professional and to my working life. My private life, on the other hand, is just private. Is it true or false? So you said like, when I'm working, I'm very professional. I'm following the ethical code. But when I'm in my private life, I don't have to follow all the rules. I don't have to be ethical, and I don't have to follow all the ethical codes. So it is not true, because when you're working, you are very honest and you follow all the ethical guidance. But when you finish your job, you are not ethical anymore. So it is not true, because, for example, let's say if you get caught, if someone get caught with the drugs or doing something bad, it not only damage his personal reputation, it damages his profession as well, because it will tell there was an accountant, he end up with that situation. So it will not only damage your personal reputation, it will damage the reputation of the institution. And for that reason, you have to be ethical in your private life and your business life and on your working life. So, and for that reason, we can say it is false. You are welcome, Sitan. So the next one we have here, as a professional accountant, it is more important for me to be ethical as I work in the public interest. So as a professional accountant, it is more important for me to be ethical as I work in the public interest. That's absolutely true, because it is more important for me to be ethical because I work for the public interest. This is absolutely true. That's it for our first question. Let's move on to the next one. The next one we have here, again, we have some true and false question. Show whether or not the Code of Professional Ethics specifically require an AAT member to take each of the following actions in order to act in line with the principle of objectivity. Okay, let's try. The first one, it says, as an accountant in practice, if a member undertakes service for two clients working in the same industry, the member must always resign from one of the engagement. Now, this one look like true. So look like true. For example, if Asda and Sainsbury, both from the same industry, both operate in the retail industry, and they come to you, and they are competitors to each other. Now they come to you, and both they're approaching to be your client. Now you cannot have two clients at the same time because the confidential information can be passed from one side to another side. Now for that reason, they said you have to be resigned from one of the engagement. Now remember, when you work in a practice, now if a member undertakes service for two clients working in the same industry, the member must always resign engagement. Now it is not necessary. You can work for few clients from the same industry if you can make sure enough safeguarding. For example, the word we said China wall, so we put in the China wall in the middle so that one information doesn't go to another one. For example, let's say you are the partner for one of the accountancy firm, and there might be like more than one partners in a practice. Normally you have 5-10 partners. Now when you have a partner, so let's say you deal with the Tesco and another partner deal with the Sainsbury, and you have to make sure the team working for the Tesco and the team work for the Sainsbury, they do not share information to each other. For that reason, you have to make sure you put enough sort of safeguarding and enough sort of supervision so that the information no way pass to each other. If you can confirm that, then you can take both client or few clients from the same industry. If you cannot, then you have to resign. So here they said you have to resign, and or you must resign. It's not must. I only resign from the engagement if I cannot confirm or if I cannot ensure the full safeguarding. So if I can do it, I don't have to resign. I can carry on the work for the same industry. So this is false. The next one we have here, if a member has a family relative working in a managerial position at a company they provide services for, the member should alert their line manager. This is true, isn't it? That ethical, like if some of your family member work in a managerial position and you provide the service, so you need to make sure you alert your line manager so that he knows, like off the record, you are not giving any favor to him. So it's look like you are transparent, you are more open. So the way you can confirm yourself, like are you ethical person or not? So there is a question we always ask ourselves, like, do I mind, like if other people know what I'm doing? So if I mind, yes, I don't want to know what I'm doing, then this is maybe not ethical. But if I don't mind what I'm doing, if other people know, this is ethical. So here, obviously, like if I make myself clear, like this person is my family member and he worked there and we provide the service there, so he will know like, okay, this is the thing. Maybe he will like put some sort of safeguard to make sure the familiarity threat doesn't arise. Otherwise, maybe it's possible like when the person are too close, maybe you give some favor that is not you're supposed to give. All right, the next one we have, your close friend Jill has become a director at one of your client you work for. It is recommended that an alternative manager at your firm work with Jill business instead. So now this one is look like again like true, but actually it is not true, because he became a director one of the client I work for. Now it says it's recommended that an alternative manager at your firm work with Jill because Jill is my close friend and maybe like I'll tell something confidential thing to him. But it is not necessary because I only resign from the engagement if I cannot confirm or if I cannot make sure the safeguard. So it is okay. Like if my friend join in another company and if I work with him, I need to make sure like if I have a line manager, I have to make sure I have to tell them like he's my friend. So I need to be transparent. So, but I don't have to resign from the engagement. Like, sorry, I cannot work because my friend joined on your company, so I have to resign. You don't have to. So he said this is also false. Okay, so move to the next one. The next one we have here said Marion, a professional accountant in practice, gives Large Limited an option on the application of accounting principle to the company's specific transactions. Marion knew that she was forming her opinion on the basis of inadequate information. Now, inadequate information means like something is not enough to give the judgment. For example, when the question come and the question give you the indication like the company don't have enough resources or inadequate information or not enough training, not enough skill for anything. So always remember this link with the professional competence and due care. So always is always linked with professional competence and due care. For any reason, if we believe we cannot give the quality service to the client because of I don't have enough resources, I don't have enough experience, I do not have enough skill, or do not have enough time to carry on the work, that always comes under the professional competence and due care. So without having enough information, if we give opinion, that will be the breach of one of the fundamental principle of the ethics, and that will be professional competence and the due care. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, have some more scenario. Let's read that. Deepika is an accountant employed by NB, a company which develops and manufactures and sells luxury bath and body products. One of the company top selling product is a body polish, which is claim use all the natural ingredients. The exfoliating quality of the polish is achieved using sea salt and the fine sand. All right. During the course of her work, Deepika discovered that in order to reduce the cost, the company has begun to replace some of the sand with microbeads. Microbeads are tiny plastic beds which pollute both the ocean and the food chain for human consumption. The use of microbeads is banned in a number of countries, but they have not been banned by the country in which natural beauty operates. They are not natural ingredients, and the packing has not been updated to reflect this. So basically, you found they're using something that is not environment friendly or not good for the human body. Now, what will be your action? This is a simple thing. So let's do that. The first thing we have here is show whether the below statement are true or false. Natural beauty may have broken the law. They didn't broke in the law, isn't it? The country they are operating is still, the government didn't ban to use the microbit. So the country they're operating is still, it is allowable. So we can say they didn't broke the law. So we say the first one is false because they didn't broke the law. And number two, natural beauty has acted unethically. That's true because to reduce the cost, they're doing something that is harmful for the human body and for the environment. So that means this is not very ethical action they choose. So we've said this is unethical, obviously. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one is, which one of the below action should Deepika take now? The first one is take the issue directly to the press. Don't do it. If you work as an employee or as an accountant, you do not damage the reputation of the business immediately because you find something. So maybe if you take action or if you tell them, let them know, maybe they'll stop doing this. So you have to go other way. You cannot just call the press and damage the company reputation. She should do nothing. No, she should do something because she found something that is not good for the human health and for the environment. So she just cannot sit down doing nothing. Discuss the finding with her immediate manager and share her concern regarding the company's use of microbits. So you need to share what you found to your immediate manager, and it will end up with a decision from there. So this is the most appropriate action she can take from this situation. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, that is, if Deepika disclosed this issue through appropriate channels, either internally or externally, would any protection against dismissal be offered to Deepika under the public information disclosure? So for example, if she disclosed this information, if the company tried to sack her or remove her from the job, is there any way she can protect her job? So what will be the answer here? The answer will be yes, because it is under the Public Information Disclosure Act 1998. So we'll say yes, as she has reasonable grounds to believe that the environment is being damaged and discover was made in good faith. So she don't have any bad intention to damage the reputation of the business, but she done it with a good faith. So for that reason, her job will be protected under the Public Information Disclosure Act in 1998. So we go for the second one. All right, let's move to the next task. Question number 2, as we said, this question most likely will be linked from incomplete records from your final account preparation paper from chapter number 2, if you are using the BPP book. So let's have a look what we have here. This task is based on the work-based scenario of the Code-Land partnership. On overviewing the Code-Land sales daybook, you have found the error. Now the sales daybook is all about credit sale. By this time we know that we have a sales daybook, we have a purchase daybook, the books of prime entry. And in these books, we have like sort of information. So in the sales daybook, we record only the credit sales. We do not record any cash sale. And there it is possible when a customer buy something from you on credit, you record their balance there, but later on the customer unable to pay you. So the customer said, I'm bankrupt, I seized my business, I closed my business, I have no money to pay you. So in this case, you have to treat them as irrecoverable debt. So this sort of thing happen when you make a sales on credit. On reviewing Codeland sales daybook, you have found 3 errors. So you checked the sales daybook and you have found 3 mistakes. Sales ledger control account. Sales ledger control account means the credit customer account. So how much you're expecting from our credit customer. So you can have a look. The first one, they said opening balance. So from the opening balance, we can see we have expected 32,300. So we're expecting 32,300 at the beginning of the June. Then after that, they paid on the bank 23,500. And 30th of June, the credit customer, they buy again from me. So sales is again 17,800. So we added the total sales minus how much they paid to us and the balance CD or the balance you're expecting from the credit customer is 26,600. Now, what is the error? Let's have a look. The first error you can see, a sales invoice of 2,700 had not been posted on 29th of June. I completely forgot. I make a sales 2,700, but I forget to record. And because of that, my sales is down by 2,700. So there was invoice. It is possible when you have a lot of invoice. For example, if your manager bring you 1,000 invoice, and if you keep entering in the system, it is possible maybe you missed 1 or 2. So in this case, when you double check if you found it, so you can re-record it. It's not a problem. So this one completely missed, so we have to record that. And sales always come on the debit side, because if I make a credit sale, I'm expecting more money from my credit customer, it will increase the balance. Number 2, we can see here a customer who owe 3,600 had been declared bankrupt on 25th of June. So I was expecting 3,600 £3,600 from someone, and he said like, sorry, I don't have money, I'm bankrupt, I cannot pay you. And it's unlikely that the debt will be recovered. This is irrecoverable debt. That means this person will not be able to pay me at all in future. He said, I cannot pay you. So we have to write off. Now remember, the journal for the irrecoverable debt is irrecoverable debt debit and sales ledger control credit, because irrecoverable debt is expense. So expense will reduce my income, because when I make a sales, I said that's my income sales. Now I said this is my expense. So income and expense will be cross each other. It will be gone. On the other hand, sales ledger control, normally it is debit. If I want to reduce it, I make it credit. So I said this is credit. So if I said it's credit, that means it will reduce the balance of the sales ledger control. The next one we have, number 3, an error was made by the credit control clerk, which meant that a cash receipt for invoice was incorrectly recorded as 1730 when the invoice was actually for 1370. So basically, I record on the cash book like I received £1,730, but the correct amount is 1370. You need to find the difference. How much is the difference? 1730 and minus 1370. So let's try to find the difference. 1730 minus 1370, and that gives us 360. So 360 is the difference. Now 360, I recorded more on the, thank you, Visual. So 360, I recorded more on the cash book debit side. 360, I recorded more. Now, when I found the error, I have to like remove it because let's have a look. Is it cash receipt? Yeah. So I received the cash actually for 1370, but I recorded 1730. So I recorded more basically, not less. 1730 minus 1370. So customer still need to pay me 360. So I need to increase the balance. So if it is a sales ledger control, I have to add a 360 because I recorded more money. So what happened if you receive a money from your customer. So we said bank is debit and sales ledger control credit. Now sales ledger control credit means I'm reducing the customer balance, but later on I found he or she didn't pay me £1,730. They actually paid me £1,370. It was my mistake. So I need to increase his balance, because also I'm expecting more money from you because it was my mistake. So sales ledger control, normally it is debit. If I want to increase it, I make it debit again. So one debit, another debit is like a plus and plus. And debit minus credit is like a plus and minus. So I need to make another debit 360 for the sales ledger control. And the bank. So bank, I said I receive 1730, but actually I received 1370. So bank was debit before. Bank was debit before 1730. Now I need to reduce 360. So I need to say bank is now credit 360. So it will be minus automatically from there. Because if something is debit, if I make credit, it will be automatically minus. So we said sales ledger control 360 debit and bank 360 credit. That's how we can correct this mistake through the journal. Okay, let's have a look. What is the question here? So the first one, they said, what is the journal to correct the error made by the credit controller? So you already know that. What is the journal? So we said sales ledger control need to be increased. So sales ledger control need to be go up by 360. So I make it debit. Normally sales ledger control is debit. If I make debit, it will go up. And the bank need to go down, because before I said bank is a debit, but now I make bank is credit. So my bank balance will go down by 360. So my customer balance will go up, bank balance go down. Next one, it says, which of the following correctly describe the type of error made by the credit control clerk? It is error of original entry. Remember that, because when you made a mistake both sides, on debit and on credit, that means you made a mistake on the original entry. So if you just made a mistake in one side, then the suspense account will be created. But when you made a mistake on both sides, debit and credit, that means it is a mistake of original entry. You change the original figure. It was 17, but you make 13. All right, so let's move to the next one. The next one we have here, it says, in order to account for the irrecoverable debt, which side of the sales ledger control will be entry be accounted for? Now remember, irrecoverable debt, as we said, irrecoverable debt is our expense, and that's the reason it is our debit, and sales ledger control is a credit. Because of the irrecoverable debt, my total customer balance will go down, and irrecoverable debt is expense. So we're going to say the sales ledger control will be on the credit side, because normally sales ledger control is a debit, but if I want to reduce it, I make it credit, opposite. Number D is saying, what is the revised carried down balance after the correction of the error sales ledger control 30 June? So remember, the sales clerk, he made a mistake. So if we make the correction, what will be the new balance? So let's have a look. Let's make the correction with this T account on the top, sales ledger control. So all you have to do, you have to put the journal for the 360. So remember, 360 we have to increase here. So we said error. So 360 have to be increased this side. And 2700 we forget. So 2700 will be increased. So it will be sales again. 2700 that you completely forget. And the irrecoverable debt, this one the customer cannot pay, 3600. So this customer said I cannot pay, so it will reduce my balance. Remember, writing on the credit side means you're reducing the balance. So if the customer said I cannot pay you, so I'm writing in this side as the irrecoverable debt. Writing on the credit side means I'm not going to get this money from the customer. So writing anything on the credit side, for example, discount allowed. For example, you receive the money from the customer, or for example, if you have a recoverable debt, anything you're writing on the credit side, that means your balance CD will go down. So all you have to do, you have to add all of this and minus this 3 to find how much is the new balance. And obviously, like this one will be this will be your the new balance CD after you do that. So you added all of this and you make this minus bank and cash and the recoverable debt, and this balance CD will be changed. So it will not be 26,600 anymore. It will be a little bit different. All right, so this is our story for the correction. If we make the correction, this will happen. Let's move 26,060. Thank you, Wong. So if it is 2660, yes, that's correct. Let's move to the next one. The next one we have E. Which one of the following statement about a limited liability partnership is not correct? That means we are looking for the incorrect one, not the correct. So we are saying here, an LLP is a separate legal entity. That's correct. This is true. Because when we have two types of partnership, one, we have a normal partnership and we have a limited liability partnership. So limited liability partnership have a separate legal entity like a limited company. So this is true. The LLP must register with the registrar of companies. This is true. So you need to tell when you become a limited, anytime if you use the word limited, you have to be registered with the companies. There is no upper limit to the number of the partner a LLP can have. That's true. So there is no limit like how many partner can be in a partnership business. Remember that only for the banking there is a limit. Other than the partnership business have no limit. You can have as much partner as you want. LLP must file annual return, accounts, and annual corporation tax. Now remember that partnership business never pay the corporation tax, never ever. They submit annual return and accounts, but do not pay the corporation tax, because the partnership is pay the tax individually. So if you have a four partner pay tax separately based on how much they earn from the partnership. So their income will be treated as a separate income, and we have to treat this one as a separate business, and we will calculate the personal allowance, and whatever is the profit make, that will be added with income, and the tax will be calculated based on his individual income. So the company will never pay tax as a business. So how many partner we have to separate the partner, and we have to pay the profit based on individual income. The reason is maybe all the partners, they don't earn the same amount of money. For example, you have a four partner in a business. Now two partner working in the business, so they're taking the salary. Another two partner, they just invested, they don't work, so they are not taking the salary. So what will happen at the end of the day? The partner taking the salary, his income will be more. And maybe some partner taking the interest on capitals, maybe some partner took the money from the business, he's paying back interest on drawings. So that's why it will be calculated individually, not as a whole for the company. So the last one is not true. So this one is not true, it's false. All right, move to the next one. The next one, it says, you have discovered that Charlie has been charging VAT on invoice, even though Codeland is not yet registered for VAT. When questioned, he declared that he didn't see the problem as Codeland paid VAT on supply invoice anyway. You have informed Chipo, but she doesn't mind either. So basically, unless you register for the VAT, unless the company is registered for the VAT, you are not allowed to charge VAT on the customer, even though you are paying VAT to your supplier. But unless your business registered either compulsory or voluntarily, you are not allowed to charge VAT on customer. But if you do that, it's wrong. So he informed the person, cheapo, and he don't mind. So for that reason, what will be your action? So remember, it's look like it is organization, it is a company, it's not a sole trader. So obviously you will have a MLRO, so you have to inform the nominated officer. So he said the nominated officer at Redcliffe and this company, basically. Who is the nominated officer? Nominated officer means like if any sort of this happen in the company, where you will inform. So there is a people, they said like, if you see something happening unethical, you have to report to that person. So you have to report to that person, not to NCA, remember that. And you never inform HMRC anyway. Never inform HMRC anyway. Only you report to MLRO or you report to the NCA. You report to NCA when you don't have the MLRO. If there was not, then it would be NCA. Yeah, that's correct, Sitan. If there is no MLRO in the company or no nominated officer, then you choose NCA. That's correct. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have here. It says, you discover that Charlie has begun training for his AAT qualification and has signed up as a student with AAT. Which one of the following statement is correct about AAT disciplinary procedure? It says Charlie will not be exposed to disciplinary proceeding because he has not taken all the exam yet. The code of professional ethics doesn't matter. Remember that if you do something wrong, you cannot say like, oh, I didn't take any exam, so the ethical code doesn't apply with me. That's not correct. The code of professional ethics is the only enforceable for fully qualified member. They're saying like, if you are fully qualified, only that case, the ethical codes apply to you, and that's not correct. That's not true. Charlie may discipline if you fail to comply with the AAT CPT requirement, of course, like if he failed to comply with the CPT, and of course, like AAT can take action against him. Doesn't matter he's qualified or not. All right, here the next one, the last one, they said, complete the following sentence by selecting the correct word from the pick list. The AAT has the continuous, obviously CPD program. We know that continuing professional development cycle, which comprise 4 steps. This is just to memorize, nothing to understand. So the first one is assess, then plan, then we have action, then evaluate. So we need to choose the action from here. It's just a step. The first one is assess, next one is plan, third one action, and the final one is evaluate. Make sure you make a note for that. So many times you'll see this one in the exam. So what is the first step or the next step? Make sure you keep a note for that, the 4 CPD steps. So action will be here. All right, let's move to the next one, task 3. Let's have a look what we have there. So task 3 is based on the workplace scenario of Code-Land partnership. The partnership is started training on 1st July 2017. Extract from the draft trial balance at 30 June 2017 are as follows. So we started our business 1st of July 2017. And we have some opening balance that is 30th of June 2017. That means this is the balance from the trial balance, is opening balance because business started from 1st of July 2017. Let's have a look what we have. We have a cost of sales, we have a land and building cost, we have office equipment, we have admin cost, finance cost. Finance cost means the interest. Sometimes students get confused. What is the finance cost? Finance cost is the interest. So when you take a loan, you have to pay the interest. That is the finance cost. Revenue is the sales. A bank loan is a long-term loan. On 1st July 2016, that is last year, Code-Land purchased land, including 2 houses. So last year, they buy some land, and on the land there was 2 houses. The land had a cost 1.6 million and the house cost 8.5 million. So it's total basically. So the land have a cost separately and the house have a cost separately. The reason they make it separate because the land will not have any depreciation. Remember that land never depreciated. Land always have appreciation. So the value of the land always increase, never go down. On the other hand, the building or any other asset, so we do the depreciation so that the value goes down. The depreciation policy of code land is as follows. So we have a land is not depreciated. So land is not depreciated, we will not do that. Buildings are depreciated on a straight line basis over expected useful life of 30 years. So all the buildings we have to divide by 30 in order to find how much is the depreciation per year. So it's very simple, in the straight line. Sometimes the question can ask you to find the diminishing value, so you know how it is and how to calculate the depreciation. Both methods, it's important to know because in the exam you will have a combination of two. Office equipment is depreciated on a diminishing balance basis at 25%. So you know how to do it. So first you do the depreciation, you minus the accumulated depreciation on the carrying value or on the book value, you do the depreciation. This is called diminishing value. Straight line, the depreciation remains same every year. On the other hand, the diminishing method, the depreciation keep changing or reducing every year. Assets are depreciated on a monthly basis with a full month charge in the month of the acquisition, no charge in the month of disposal. So that means the depreciation you have to calculate month by month. So if I use for 6 months, the depreciation will be for 6 months. If I use for 1 year, depreciation will be for 1 year. Land and building depreciation charge should be recorded in the cost of sales. So if there is any depreciation for the land and building, we have to add it to the cost of sales. Remember that it is the accrual concept and depreciation is a fixed cost. And that's the reason this is the cost we included as an expense to match it against the income, because depreciation is a non-cash item. The main reason we use the depreciation so that once the useful life of the asset is finished, so we can replace the asset. Because when you buy an asset, we have a plan for how long we're going to use it. We cannot keep the use forever. So obviously for that reason, we decide how long we're going to use it. For example, if we buy asset for £10,000, and if we think we can use it for 10 years, so every year we divide by 10, so every year 1,000 will be gone. So after the end of the 10 years, the value of the asset will be nil. That's the reason we do the depreciation over the useful life of the asset, nothing else. Then office equipment depreciation is recorded as admin expense. So any depreciation for the office equipment, it will be recorded as admin expense. Very careful with all of this word. We have to follow every single instruction the question gave it to us. Explain the purpose of the depreciation is a writing question for 2 marks. Remember, if you see the writing question, try to write 1.5 line or 1.5 sentence for 1 mark. So when you have a 2 marks, try to write at least 2 sentences. So 1.5 line at least each sentence. So first you can say depreciation. So they said explain the purpose. Depreciation of the non-current asset. So you can say depreciation is the method of reducing the value of the non-current asset. Now we need to set the purpose in order to match the expense according to the accrual concept. So if you write this 2 lines, more than enough to get to. And obviously, if you want to write few more, if it is a valid, if it is information is correct, for example, you can say depreciation is a non-cash item that have no impact on the overall cash flow of the business. So you can say that. So depreciation is a non-cash item. So you can say a few more lines if you see there is a lot of marks. For 2 marks, you really don't have to waste too many time. All right, so let's move to the next one. The next one we have number 2. They said calculate the depreciation expense for the code land for the year ended 30 June 2017. You must show all the workings. We need to show all the workings. Let's have a look. How can I show that? So you have a 3 thing here. So let's try to understand first. So we have a land. They said land, we don't have to depreciate. So it's 0. We don't have to do anything. Then we have a building, divide by 30, and we have office equipment, 25%. It's quite simple. So we have the building, they separate us, that is 8.5 million, and the office equipment, 8,100. So we have the cost, we need the cost. So let's do that. It's quite simple. We have 4 marks, just need to show the depreciation with the workings. The first one we say for the land. And we said the cost of the land, it was 1,600, 1.6 million, 1,600,000. And there is no depreciation, so it will be 0 depreciation %, so there will be no depreciation. So depreciation charge, it will be 0. Number 2, we have a building. Building, the cost is 8.5 million, so 850, 100,000. And obviously we have divide by 30 years depreciation, and we'll do that. 850,000 divided by 30 years, so 850 divided 30, it will give you 28,333. This will give you the depreciation per year. So depreciation per year. And finally, you have office equipment. Office equipment, and there's a 25% on cost, the reducing balance, 25%. Remember that if the question give any accumulated depreciation, for example, any depreciation from the last period, so you need to minus it. But in this question, we don't have any accumulated depreciation, so we're not going to take away anything from here. But if the question said in the exam, there is a depreciation accumulated, so you have to minus it, and then you have to do 25%. So 8,100 times 25% will give you 2025. All right, this is the calculation of the depreciation. Fair enough. So that's fine. So we have move to the next one. The next one says, Code Line receive a loan from the bank. One of the conditions of the loan was that bank need to see quarterly management account and the annual financial statement. Now explain why the bank might want to see these documents. Very important. If you go to the bank will ask you the forecast for the next 6 months or for the 1 year. The reason bank want to see it because the bank want to see you can pay back the loan and how the company is planning for the next year or for the next quarter. So management account will give them an idea about the budget, about the expected profit and the cost. So they can see, oh, this is your management account. That's even for the internal purpose, but they can see it and they can guess like, okay, this business have a plan. This is the plan. And then our financial statement. Financial statement is the actual result, what's happening. And they can see like, oh, both looks good. And they want to be ensure like the company can pay back the loan. This is the reason, nothing else. So we can say the bank want to see these documents because they like to ensure company will be able to pay back the loan and the interest. That's it. So the bank want to check like you will be able to pay and you're financially viable, nothing else. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have number D. Number D says, calculate the gross profit and operating profit for Code Land for the year ended 30 June 2017 after adjusting for the depreciation. Okay, they're saying after depreciation, how much will be the profit? It's not the difficult one. We already have the depreciation. Let's go back, have a look what we have. So we can do in the corner. It's going to be easy for us. So let's start with that. We know the format already, revenue or sales. Well, let's start with revenue or sales. So revenue is 193,000. 193,000, the revenue we have. Then we have to minus the cost of sales, less COS, cost of sales, to find the gross profit. So cost of sales, we can see we have in the question 96,000. 96,000. Also, the question said, add the cost of sales, the depreciation add to the cost of sales. So we already have the depreciation. The depreciation we have 28,333 for the building. We added this to find how much is the total for the cost of sales. So 96,000 from the quotient and 28,333, that depreciation we have calculated on the building. So that will give you 124, 333. So that's my cost of sales. And we can actually write here that. So let me remove that. So we need to find the gross profit. So you can write it down here. 124. 333. So minus it from the revenue to find how much is my gross profit. So let's find the GP. The gross profit is the difference. That is 68,667. And finally, have to minus the admin expense to find the profit. Admin expense. And admin expense, you have 24,000 plus the depreciation of the office equipment. The question said add the depreciation of the office equipment to the admin expense. So add this one, 25,600, 24,600 plus 2050, that will give you 26,625. And if you minus that, that will give us the operating profit. That is 42,042. Very simple. There's no complicacy here. Only you have to add the depreciation, one with the cost of sales, the depreciation for the building. The next one is for the admin for the office equipment. So that's all. All right, let's move to the next one we have. What we have here, number A. Number A is saying the depreciation charge on Code Land building is an example of, remember that depreciation always example of the fixed overhead, always. Depreciation always example of the fixed overhead, even though the depreciation method can change the depreciation every year, it will go up and down, but it's fixed for the whole year, even though it keep changing every year, but it's fixed for that year. So for that reason, depreciation is always fixed cost. And if the question asks you what concept tell us a depreciation to match against the asset, so we said accrual concept. Based on the accrual concept, we use the depreciation, and depreciation is a non-cash item. Because of the depreciation, there is no actual movement of the cash from the business bank. Remember that. All right, I think so. That's it for the question number 3. Now let's move on to the question number 4. That is the writing questions. Think like we can write some bullet point. It's for the 15 marks. We have to write a lot, remember. But you can read this question, try to make some bullet point, what you're going to write. Let's read this one. So the first thing we have here, this task is based on the workplace scenario of Code Land partnership. You are Paula, a part qualified accounting technician employed by R&R, an accountancy firm. It is a Monday morning when the partner Mr. Rutherford called you into his office for a private meeting. He explains that he has a number of expenses relating to personal expenditures that he would like to put through the company book of the accounts. He hands you a file containing a year worth of private bank statement and requests you to identify any expenditure relating to his expensive family holiday and post as an expense to the business travel account. So he went for a holiday with the family. So he want to record this one in the business book and ask you to consider this one as a business expense. Your response is you have learned at college that only valid business expenditure should be recorded through the business book of account. However, his reasoning is that holidays are there to help him relax from the stress of running a business. So it is only fair this is recorded as a business expense. So he thought like, when I go for a holiday, it makes me relax from the stress, and the stress comes from the business. For that reason, it is valid to record as a business expenditure. The director implies that as a thank you, you may able to obtain 2 tickets for 2 seats for the final at a tennis tournament. When you return to your desk, you complete an internet search and you surprised to discover this ticket are currently selling in excess of 500 each. So they're offering you 2 tickets, and 2 tickets cost £1,000. Now we can see here, the first thing we need to understand, is it a bribery or not? So it looks like it's a bribery because if something that could change your mind, so it could be the gift, it could be the cash, it could be any sort of offer they give it to you. Now, if this offer change your mind, that will becomes under the bribery. Remember that, and obviously it will be unethical as well. Now here it is a very clear because of the two ticket for the final tournament of the tennis, then it might have impact on your decision, and you might think, okay, I'll claim all the expense, and you know this is not right. So this is the situation. What you'll do, it says outline any potential ethical issue that this work request can bring. In your answer, refer to the Code of Professional Ethics and highlight the specific threat that you may apply. So you need to find few things. So the first thing, ethical issue, what is arises here, number one. Number two is refer to the Code of Professional Ethics, highlight a specific threat. So what sort of threat? For example, it's a very clear we have a self-interest because I'm getting benefit by doing something wrong. Let's look at the next one. The next one we have is state your decision regarding the request from the partner and state any further action you would be required to take. So what action are you going to take? We can say simply we want to refuse it. We don't want to do that. And we have another question here. This is also the writing part. So they said here, I'm a new junior at the partnership and will be working on the partnership end of the financial statement. I have just started my accountancy studies and have only covered sole trader. We have not covered the type of accounts and the financial statement used in the partnership. This is all new to me. So now what will be the reply? Reply to your colleague, County, outlining the accounts and the statement used in the partnership arrangement. Your answer should be suitable for someone with no knowledge of the partnership. So you have to say every single thing in detail. Now there is only 7 marks. You really don't have to too much. So you need to tell about the partnership appropriation account, what we have there, then partnership current account, what we have there, and partnership financial statement, what we have there. So you need to discuss about these 3 things. So first you tell what is partnership, how does it work? And after that, you jump to the partnership accounts, what you're going to see from there. So this is question number 4, and it's a full writing question. We're going to see some bullet point from this question, and we'll see what sort of point we have to write in this question. But before that, we'll take a break. Once you come back, then we'll start from task number 4 and we try to explain something here, then we move to the next question. So let's take a 25-minute break and we come back 7:45. Now it is 7:17. We'll come back after 25 minutes. Let's say 7:45. We'll come back and we'll start from task number 4. So I'll see you in 25-minute time. Now this question, obviously the writing question, you need to make sure like you revise enough so that you can write enough as well. Because sometimes some student, they don't revise enough specific areas of the question, and for that reason, after writing few lines, they don't know what to write. So you need to make sure like you revised every single area from the book so that any sort of question come, you know what to write. Now this question, the first one, they said like outline the potential ethical issues here. Now, of course, the first thing is like it is ethical issues because the first thing is that will against the ethical code of ethics. So it will breach the fundamental principle of ethics. So it will breach the fundamental principle of the ethics, because if I do that, I'll compromise with my integrity. If I listen to him and if I claim all the expense for the VAT, I will compromise my fundamental principle of integrity. So that will breach the fundamental principle. The next one is like we have to explain a little bit like the only the valid business expense are allowed to claim for VAT, and obviously anything that is personal, it cannot be claimed as a VAT because the owner and the business are separate entity. So we can say this word, the owner and the business are separate entity. And the next point here, it says, is there an ethical trait? The first trait is raised, that is self-interest. Because if I do that, and it will give me some benefit, the personal benefit, because if I follow his order, then I'll get some free ticket, and the ticket is quite expensive. So I can do it because I have some interest, self-interest. The next one is compromise the integrity. Integrity will be compromised. And the next point is like, if I do that, obviously it will be treated as a bribe, as I said before. So anything to consider it is a bribe or not, it depends, it will change my decision or not. So for example, after getting the ticket for the tennis, and the ticket is quite expensive. So if I get this and if it have an impact on my decision, so it will be treated as a bribe. So it will be treated as a bribe, and that is a criminal offense under the Bribery Act. So all this point you have to explain. There is 6 marks, so try to explain at the 6 point, and it will give you 6 marks in the exam. But as I said, you really have to practice a lot in order to get full marks in the writing question. All right, let's move to the next one, number B. The next point we have here, state your decision regarding the request from the partner, and instead any further action you would like you require to take. The first action we'll take that is will refuse. So I will refuse to follow the instruction from the partner. If he disagree, then I will inform MLRO or the nominated officer. So first I will say I cannot do it. I'll explain why. And if he still force me to do it, then I have to inform the nominated person or the MLRO. All right, move to the next one. And the next one is about the partnership. This question said he don't know anything about partnerships, so we have to talk everything about the partnership. First, we need to say what is the partnership. So we need to set the definition. So it's a definition of the partnership. Definition of the partnership. That means we have two types of partnership. One is normal partnership and one is limited liability partnership. And we can explain what it is. So the normal partnership, when the liability of the partners remain unlimited. On the other hand, for the limited liability partnership, the liability for the partners remain limited. So we can explain that. That's the first point. The next point we have to discuss, that is MLRO, that is money laundering reporting officer. So this is a short form of MLRO. So let's have a look at the next point that we have to discuss, what sort of accounts we have to prepare for the partnership. The first thing we have to say about the partnership appropriation account. APPROPRIT appropriation account. Now on the partnership appropriation accounts, we have to say what we do there. So we start with profit after the operation, but before salaries for the partners, before considering the interest on capital and the interest on drawings. So we need to say all of this. This comes under the partnership appropriation account. The next one, we're going to talk about partners current account. Partners current account. Under the partner current account section, we can discuss on the credit side, it will be the amount that owed to the partner. So the partners are entitled to get from the business. For example, the salaries, for example, interest on capital, for example, the sharing of the profit, all of this will be on the credit side of the partnership current account. On the other hand, on the partnership current account debit side, we'll have a drawings or interest on drawings that will reduce the balance of the partners. So we need to write all of that for this section. Finally, we're going to say about partnership financial statement, that is SOFP, statement of financial position. Here we're going to say this will represent the total partnership business asset and the liabilities. And also on the finance by section, it is almost similar than a sole trader financial statement. The only difference is the finance by section. On the finance by section, on the partnership, we have to add two things. One, the partnership current account and the partnership capital account. Remember that if it is a sole trader, what we do? We said opening capital and we add the profit plus profit, less drawings, and this gives us the closing capital, and that is equal to the net asset. But if it is a partnership, we don't do it. Remember that. If it is a partnership, we do not do the opening capital plus profit less drawings. No, we don't do it. What we do, we said partners current account and partners capital account. We added these two to find the net asset of the partnership business. Remember that. So be careful with these two, because sometimes students have a partnership financial statement, they do opening capital plus profit. They remember this template. Remember the template is different for the sole trader and the partnership. And finally, you can write the conclusion, like you can say like, I hope you understand what I explained for the partnership. So if you still have any question, you can always contact me. So you can write this line. So first, you Start with introduction, then you finish with the conclusion, then you write kind regards your name. Obviously, it will give you the full marks if you can follow the format. Only for the format you have 1 mark. So starting and the finishing, for example, if normally the letter or the email or the report come in the exam, but most likely the most common one tested in the exam is reply to an email. So if this question come reply to an email, make sure you know how to reply. So you start with dear whatever it is, then after you end up with like kind regards or best wishes, whatever you want to say. All right, let's move to the next one. The next one we have activity 5, task 5. It will give you a question. Normally this question comes from the management accounting. This question can come from your limiting factor question. This question can ask you to identify what is the fixed cost, what is the variable cost, what is the step cost, what is the semi-variable cost. Make sure you are very good on your management accounting question so that you can get a good score here. Okay, so let's have a look. This one, this task is based on workplace scenario of Codeland Partnership. A draft budget for the year ended 30 June 2018 has been produced. So we have here revenue, we have a rental income. We can see we have a land rental income and we have a house rental income. So we have a 2 type of rental income. That's fine. Always careful with the year ended. Remember that, because sometimes you have to split the month. So if you don't remember the year end, you can end up with the wrong figure. Very careful with the year ended. So we have a revenue. So land rental income, we have a house rental income total. So that is 30 of June 2018. 205 fixed cost, we have a staff, repair, depreciation, overheads, and we have operating profit 50. We have some additional information here. Chipo has asked for your help to revise the budget. So this budget they want to revise. Charlie and her have decided they are going to apply 2% increase the rental income for both land and the houses. So rental income will be increased by 2%. Now, it is very simple. If you like to increase something, for example, if it is 10,000, and if you like to increase it by 2%, what you can do, multiply 1.02. It will be increased by 2% because 1 is the base and the 2% is means 0.2. So you can always do that to get like how much is the total. So remember that, follow these steps. It will be easy. Rather than you calculate 2% and add yourself, it will take a lot of time. The next one, they said they are considering the acquisition. Acquisition means purchase. They're planning to purchase 2 new premises. So they're planning to buy 2 new premises or properties. Relevant to detail are as follows. So they want to buy 2 houses, house 1, house A or house B. Proposed date acquisition, they will buy house A 1st of October 2017. So our year is ended 30 of June 2018. So October to June, it is 9 months. The house A, remember that house A. So all the calculation will be for 9 months. And house B, January to June, 6 months. House B, 6 months. Start from January and year is ended on June. So 6 months. It's very important to remember that. And after that, we have this information, that is how much is the rental expected income. So you can see from the house A, rental income expected 35, for the house B 50,000. And for the house A, the purchase cost 400,000. House B, the purchase cost 600,000. We need it in order to calculate the depreciation. If the question asks you to calculate depreciation, we definitely need the cost price. Then we have a additional cost is staff, admin, and the repair. All this cost we have here, this will be a portion. Depends how many months we have used it. So for example, the staff cost 15,000 for year per annum. So the 15,000 for the whole year, we cannot take full whole year because we buy this asset on 1st of October. So October to June is 9 months. So we can take 9 months from this 15,000 and 6 months from this 25, then 9 months from 2,000, 6 months from 9,000. So remember that. Then we have the new properties would be depreciated on a straight line basis over 30 years. with a full month of depreciation charge in the month of acquisition. So for example, if we buy on 15th of June or 15th of January, we're going to charge the depreciation for the full January. So even though we buy last day of the January, 30th of January, still we're going to charge full depreciation for the month of January, because the question said full month depreciation is charged in the month of acquisition. That means the month we buy, we have to charge the full month depreciation. Every single information we read is very important to remember because it's linked. Okay, now we have to find the draft budget. The draft budget, they already give it to us. And the rental income, house A, house B, and the revised one. All right, so let's start this one to make a revised budget. So we already know house A for the 9 month, house B for the 6 month, we purchase up to the date of year ended. So let's find it out for the house A. So the first one, there's a rental income for the house. Rental income increase, so they just increased 2%. We don't have to worry about that. Question already gave it to us. And they said house A, how much it is. So let's have a look. So I can see here, house A, rental income expected 35,000. So let's have a look for 9 months, how much it is. So 35,000 for the whole year. Let's try to get that. So 35,000 for 12 months times by 9, it will give you how much it is for the 9 month. So let's try to do that. 35,000 for the whole year. Divide by 12 times by 9, it will tell me how much for the 9 month. And that will give you 26,250. Thank you, one. 26,250. Very good. So he said here 26,250 that we're going to record for house A as the rental income. House B, they already given. So if we added all of this, how much it is? So we have the revised budget. So how much it will be? So let's try to add all of this to find how much it is. So 61, 200 plus 26,250 plus 25,000, and that gives me 112,450. 112,450. So we have a rental income increase and the new two house A and house B. So if you added these three, that gives me the total of that. Now the revenue, you don't have to do anything. So I just need to add this to revenue, 145 plus 147. And this is increased. No, 145, not 147. It was 145 before. Now it is increased to 2%. That is now 147. So 147, 900 is the income from the land rental income. It's increased by 2%. So from the land, we have 147, 900. And from the house, we have total 112, 450. So we already have 61, 200 plus we buy new two house. So we have our revenue now. We added these two to find how much is the total. So 147, 900 plus 112, 450. That will give us 260,350. Very well done. Now we go to the cost. How much is the cost? The staff cost we have here for the house A, that is 11,250. Okay, let's have a look. Now all you have to do for the 9 month and 12 month. So 15,000 divided by 12 times by 9. You can check 15,000 divide 12 times by 9. That gives me 11,250, and we can see they took 11,250. So we're happy with that. The next one for the house B, they said the staff cost for the whole year is 25,000. And we know for the 6 month, it will be half. So 25,000 divided by 12 times by 6, or you can just make half divided by 2. It should give you the same figure. So it should give you how much? 12,500. 12,500. 25,000 is for the whole year. So for the 6 months, it will be 12,500. So if we added this three now, so we have a staff cost. We have a 80,000 from the draft. And for the house A, we have new 11,250 and house B 12,500. So if we added these three, the total will be 103,750. This is my total staff cost. The next one is the repair. Let's have a look. How much is the repair we have? So for the house A, we have a repair 5,000. So take for the 9 month, and house B 12,000 will take for the 6 month. So let's do that. So we take repair is 3750. Same way, divide by 12 times by 9. And house B 12,000. So for the 6 month will be 6,000. And we added these three, so 15,000 from the draft. For the two new house, it will be added, and it will give you 24,750. The depreciation, 30,000 you already have, and they said the house will be for 30 years, isn't it? They said house will be 30 years. Let's find the cost. How much is the cost? The cost of the house is 400,000. So divide by 30. That will give you for the whole year. Then divide by 12 times by 9. So we have to do the depreciation 400,000. The cost divide by 30. It will give you the depreciation per year. Then whatever the result come, we have to divide by 12 again times by 9 to find it out. How much is the depreciation? So let's do that. That will give you 10,000. And the next one, the same way, it will give you 10,000 as well. So let's go back to the question. All right, so the depreciation, we have 10. And we have a 10 again. The next one for the 6 month. So 30 plus 10 plus 10, it gives us 50,000, the depreciation. And we have admin overhead. So let's have a look how much the admin we have for the A. So admin overhead, they said 2,000. So 2,000 divided by 12 times by 9. And that will give us 1,500 for the 9 month. So you already have 30,000. So 30,000 plus 1,500 plus 4,500. That will be 36,000 total. So this is the story of our expense and the income. And after we have to add all the costs to find how much is total. So we added all of this to find the total, and that will give us 214,500. And all we have to do, have to minus from the income, total income and expense, that will give us the profit. So 263.50 minus 214,500, and that will give you the profit 45,850. That's it. So that's how we can calculate the profit for this rental income. All right, so any question from anyone for this area? If you have any question, feel free to ask me if you understand it, so we can move to the next question. All right, so let's move to the next one then. The next one we have task number 6. Now, as I said, this question normally comes from the extended trial balance, so you'll see it, and you need to make sure you revise the extended trial balance very well. And definitely this question will be in the exam. Let's have a look. These three adjustments we have here. The first one you can see here, they said this task is based on the workplace scenario of the court land partnership. The depreciation charge for the year for the office equipment 2025 was correctly posted to the accumulated depreciation. However, no expense has been posted to the statement of profit and loss. So when you have a depreciation, you have a journal. The journal is depreciation debit and accumulated depreciation credit. Depreciation debit and accumulated depreciation credit. But I did the accumulated one correctly, but I forget the depreciation. So for that reason, if I forget one side, that means debit and credit will not be equal. And if the debit and credit not equal, that means the suspense account will be created. And any suspense account we cannot keep on the account, so we have to remove it. So now we have to correct it. Number one, what we'll do is say we forget the depreciation. So depreciation account will be debit 2025. And the suspense was created before. Now I need to remove the suspense. So suspense account will be credit 2025. So forget the depreciation debit, and the suspense is credit. Next one, number two, the journal here is Codeland received 300 in respect of an invoice from Most Lotus on 30 June 2017. This has not been reflected in the sales ledger control in the bank. I completely forget. I receive £300 from a customer, but I completely forget to record. So what I do, if I receive a money, my bank goes up. So bank is debit 300, and sales ledger control is a credit 300. Bank is a debit because money come to the bank. So bank will go up, bank is debit. And sales ledger control, the customer balance will go down. So sales ledger control is credit. The last one, we have a purchase invoice in respect of electricity charge was incorrectly posted to the electricity expense as 850. The correct amount is 580 was posted to the purchase ledger. So 580 is the correct one, and the incorrect one is 850. And 550 corrected to the purchase ledger, that is credit. So we made a mistake on the debit side. So we need to decrease our expense, because we said electricity expense is 850, but actually electricity expense is not 850. Electricity expense is actually 580. So we show more electricity expense. Now I need to reduce it. Normal electricity expense is a debit. So if I want to reduce it, I make it credit. So I said electricity expense, I need to reduce it. So electricity expense credit, the difference. So let's find the difference, how much it is. 850 minus 580, that gives me 270. So 270 we have credit, we reduce the electricity expense, and now the suspense will be debit 270, because any side go higher and lower, and if the debit and credit doesn't match, the suspense is created, and we have to remove the suspense always. That's it. We have done the journal. Now we need to just record it on our adjustment so that we can find the balance for the SOFP and SPL. So let's go a little bit down and record in everything. So the first one, we have a bank. We have adjustment for the bank. Bank need to be debit by 300. So increase the bank 300. So we said adjustment 300 debit. The bank will go up by 300. Then we have the new balance for the bank. So 6930 plus 300, because this is debit, this is debit. Debit and debit like a plus and plus. So 6930 plus 300, because both are debit, it will be 7230, 7230. And remember, the bank is an asset, so belongs to SOFP. Any asset and liability, it will go to a statement of financial position, and income and expense will come to the SPL, that is statement of profit and loss account. Suspense account, let's have a look how many suspense we have. The first suspense we have credit 2025. So on the credit side, we write 2025 for the suspense. On the adjustment 2025 suspense. On the adjustment, we have another suspense debit 270. Remember that suspense has to be vanished. Now if you do add this one, debit plus debit 270, it will be exactly 2025, and suspense account has to be vanished. Suspense account cannot move forward to the SPL or SOFP. With the adjustment, it has to go. So remember that. So if I added debit plus debit, it will be equal to credit, is gone. The next one will have a trade payable. We have no adjustment for the trade payable. Is a liability, belongs to the SOFP credit side. Is a liability. The supplier balance, the money we have to give to the supplier. Trade receivable, this is the customer balance, my asset. We have adjustment. Sales ledger control, credit 300. That means you have to write on the adjustment column 300, and sales ledger control is a debit and the adjustment is credit. That means you have to minus it. So 3080 minus 300, and it is an asset. It will go to the SOFP 2780. It is asset, will go to the statement of financial position. We have a electricity adjustment. So electricity need to be credit, need to be reduced by 270. So I need to write on the adjustment column 270, and it will go down automatically. 1620 minus 270, and it will give me 1350. And electricity is expense. An expense and income will go to SPL, statement of profit and loss account. Depreciation we have calculated. So we have depreciation, that is debit, is always come debit side on the adjustment. So 2025, the depreciation, and it is always come to the SPL. Remember that on the debit side. Depreciation always will come to the debit side. Now, every time if you do any sort of like question like this sort of question come in the exam, make sure like you read the question carefully and you do the answer, because this question will be in the exam definitely. All right, so let's have a look. If you have any question, let me know. Otherwise, we move to the next part. We have a next part. This question can be longer as well. Remember that there is few more things that you have to know. That is the first thing you have to know, that is what's that called? Irrecoverable debt is a very common. So doubtful debt allowance and the irrecoverable debt and doubtful debt adjustment. I have seen so many students in the exam, they got very confused about the allowance for doubtful debt and the allowance for doubtful debt adjustment. So they mix it up with how the general allowance work and how the specific allowance work. So remember that it will be definitely in the exam. So make sure you practice that area, how to find it out, the allowance for the doubtful debt, and how to increase or decrease through the adjustment. All right, so let's move to the next part. The next part we have here, that is our next question. That is for our partnership. So let's read this one. We have Cortland made a profit for the year of 8540. Chipo and Charlie have taken salary 2,000 and 2,500 respectively. So the profit for the whole year is 8540. That's the profit. And after that, these two persons, Chipo and Charlie, they took the salary. They both receive interest 4% on the capital. Any sort of capital interest, it will be added with the business. Remember that, which was 60,000 each. So 4% on 60,000. Chipo and Charlie share the profit and loss equally. So it will be at the end equally. That's fine. So let's have a look. What else you have? Is there any more information linked to that? And no, I don't see any information linked to that. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. So we have to write it down and find how much is the information we have here. So salary for the Chipo is 2,000, and for the Charlie 2,500. So the total salary is 4,500. Interest on capital 2,400 for Chipo, 2,400 for Charlie. 4% on 60,000. That will give you 4,800 here. And if you add it, so it will be have 4,400, 4,900, and we have 9,300. That's it. So after we have this one, we need to do how much is the profit left. Now from the question, they said the profit we have, how much is the profit we have? 8,540. 8,540 is the profit, and we have to see how much is the profit left. So residual profit, how much is left? The total expense we have 9,300. So from there we said 8,540 minus 9,300. I need to see how much is the left. We have 760. This is the left, but it is a minus. Our expense is more and the profit is less. The expense is 9,300 and the profit is 8540. So you have a minus 760. This 760 will be split equally between these two partners. So we make it split, divide by 2. So it will be 380 and 380. That's it. And after what we'll do, find the total. So 4400 minus 380, it will give you 4020. And 4900 minus 380, it will give you 4520. And it is 8540. That's it. And that's how the partner will be personally responsible to report to HMRC how much they got from the partnership. So they have to show salary from the partnership. They have to show how much they get as interest on capital and how much is the leftover profit. If there's a loss, it will reduce the profit. If there is a profit, it will increase their total amount getting. So top of that, you need to make sure you need to learn the current account for the partnership and the statement of financial position. So that's how you can make yourself ready for the exam. I think this is the end of this question for the Synoptic level 3 for practice assessment 1. And as I said, like this sort of question you're going to see in the exam, but you really have to do a lot of practice in order to get a very good score in the exam, because this exam could be really, really tricky.